Right, wonderful folks. Yeah, today is Friday, 25 February 2022. Okay, welcome to Costa API Provider Meeting for IBMCloud. So let me fix this status. Right, yeah, I mean, nothing I have mentioned the agenda, but it can be similar like the last one, right? So what we can discuss is whatever we delivered, right? Features, whatever, and backlog we can discuss. On sites and anything if anyone wants to speak on that we can cover. Okay, let me see what we did last couple of weeks. I think what when was our last meeting in February 11th, right? So if I go back February 11th. Yes, we did, update our packages to 1.1.1, which got released recently. I believe we even updated to the latest 1.1.1.2. Yeah, so here it is. That happened, I think, last week. Yeah, so what it really means is that we'll be updating all the co-mod. Maybe we can just open the latest one. Yeah, I mean, we just update all the modules version in go.mod, and also we need to replace this version here in go.mod. And then there is this tool dot under tool also we have another go module. So there also we need to add or update. So unfortunately, the tools doesn't really have sort of versions. It is not really complying with version sync. So we just need to grab the SHA and then um, update that here, and then we also need to replace the versions here. And then with that also I think even this file needs to be updated for using the latest whatever the same version, the manifest file for E2E tests. If I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, Amulya.
Yeah, that's right.
And then eventually these files will pull proper images for the testing, right? So that's what it is all about. Yeah, so that's the overall the release or the version update to the latest API. So just close the text. Other than that, okay, I was in commit side, so I think this doesn't give me a proper information. Maybe commit will be able to try it. And after that, we did merge image spec into obvious image. I mean, machine obvious image reference into machine spec. So, Prajit, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, Manju, I can just talk about it briefly.
Yep.
Yeah, so basically the idea was that we wanted to import images into the Power VS, right, as a part of the uh, I would say the CAPI deployment itself, right? So here what we are doing is basically we are providing the ability to specify the image references, which is nothing but specifying the details about where the bucket image lies in which bucket and everything, so that whenever there is a machine deployment, in case the image already doesn't exist in the Power VS instance, right? So we are able to import it at the same time and then use the same reference image from there onwards. So yeah, so this code basically deals with that. It helps in importing the image into the Power VS service instance, and we are adding it as a part of the machine spec itself. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is mainly, as Prajot mentioned, it's more of like instead of directly referring the image inside the Power BI, it's more of like depending, create a dependency on another spec we have in this project called IBM Power BI image. So that name we will give here while deploying the machine. So it will go into machine spec. Then whenever machine gets deployed, it will wait for this particular image to be ready, and then and later they pull the ID from that image, what it gets created, right? So if you go to controller, just where's controller? Yeah. So if you go to controller here, um, mm, I don't see that. Where is that image ID thing? Yeah, I mean, not sure, but yeah, eventually what it does is it will just get that image ID and then it will use that image ID while deployment. So that's what it is. Um, yeah.
Yeah, Manju.
So
So yeah, so the image ID part that will be taken care as a part of the that IBM Power BI image itself, right? So that resource type. So here we are basically specifying the name, right, of the image. Okay, if it is already existing, then
oh
we will
yeah,
straightforward use it. If not, then
yes.
we will, yeah. If not, then we'll import it out and then we'll use it from there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was just searching for this one. So I thought it is in controller, but yeah, I think this is in scope. Yes. So this is what the part I was talking about. So if a pause image is not null, then we'll use that image ID, I mean the pause image. And then if it is the regular flow, so then it will again go ahead and then look for the image in the IBM, I mean, pause fracture, and then we'll use that image ID. So this is what the if else block handles that. Yeah, thanks, Project, for that explanation. Uh, we also fixed some minor issues like update or delete image flow. This is mainly like when we create an image. Again, Project, you want to cover?
Yeah, sure, Manju. Yeah, so this bug was basically that whenever someone tries to import an image, right, and even before the image is imported, they want to trigger the delete API. So we wanted to take care of clearing up all the resources, right? So what we are doing is, since whenever we try to import, a import job is created, right? And if the user triggers the delete API even before the image has been imported into the Power BI service instance, we are ensuring that we are deleting the respective import job, right? So we'll basically try to see that the job ID has been already set, and it has been already set and delete API has been triggered. And instead of deleting the actual image, since it is not imported, we'll go ahead and delete the import job, which is still in progress. Yeah. So
Yeah,
this
it's
is,
yeah. Mm. Yeah, so yeah, this is another, yeah, as Project mentioned. So we wanted to have this flow. Otherwise, what really happens is that if you just look for an image which is not really imported because it is still in progress, but actual job is in progress. So we were just ignoring. I mean, initially we did not take care of handling the job properly. So but this also deletes if that import job is in in progress or whatever. Right? We are also deleting the job, and then if image is not there. Right? So that's what the flow is. That will cover the entire image and then image machine spec. Um, yeah, so one another thing I have added in this announcement is that we were, so if you go to machine spec, right? So we were advertising the internal IP and then node external IP from machine EVM instance, but in few instances, it is required that we also need the type like the internal DNS and then host name entries for your addresses the machine, right, for the machine. So I'm not sure whether I have updated in this with all the details like, no, I haven't. But yeah, I mean, the idea is like when you get a machine, if you do a get machine, right? So I mean, or describe machine. So you'll see those IP addresses registered, right? So even that is not just enough in certain cases, like in Hypershift, in certain machine approval, what they are doing is like they're going and then checking certain fields like the internal DNS or the host. Basically, they know internal DNS is what they search, then they take that name and then matches with the certificates it is getting created, like especially for the bootstrap certificates, right? So when the node really requests for joining the API servers, what it does is it will send the certificates signed by its basically a DNS names, which is internally the host name of that particular node, the worker node, right? So yeah, I mean, they usually check with the machine, existing machine, which has that, you know, the node, no node name in the address type. So that's the reason. So we have added this code in terms of making that flow working. So it's more of like exposing a couple of more entries in the addresses field of your machines. Any questions? All right. So one another thing we fixed is, yeah, I mean, our mocking was not really proper. We didn't add all the methods, possible methods in the interface that I haven't taken care in this part of like this bug. I don't have better idea how to avoid this, but there's always a chance that we miss some functions and then we don't add some of these functions in the interface, but we kind of directly go ahead and define those, you know, functions directly in that implemented structure. So that usually Golang allows, right? So because it's other way around. So if you have something defined here, so you have to implement in the structures, but it is not, will not stop you to create your own functions, right? But some of these functions were missing in the interface. I have added that. So this will help us getting the mock generated for all these missing functions. So that I have done part of this, and then also what I've done is that in the service, all these clients, what we see here is they were all public. Like, I mean, they were all exported by default. I mean, like that's what we have done in the initial phase. But what I felt is that what I've seen is like there are instances that we started using these clients directly because they are all exported outside. I mean, anyone can just use these clients directly, which will talk to your um, obvious client, and then that will, you know, that will cause a problem for mocking, right? So you're not supposed to call these, you're not supposed to use these clients directly, right? So that's what I just made it a private one, so that whatever call goes through these functions, what we have, and that way we can just feed this, I mean, mock this service, I mean, mock this particular interface on runtime, and then we can use whatever mocking thing we can, right, instead of calling to real clients, so we can have our own mocking done. So, right, so that's the reason I just made all these clients like private. Hope that is helpful. And then also we have now the mocking, generated mocking code in the service, right? So we have code for all the other remaining functions. So now we can define what we want. Yeah, so that, any questions before we move to other one? Any questions from you, Amulya, in terms of using this mocking thing?
No, nothing, Manju. Yeah, I got that.
And Amulya, by the way, thanks for that other fix you sent us today. I mean, I didn't realize that I was using
Yeah,
structure like that.
initially I
Yeah.
started directly using it and I was like confused why it was not working. And then I realized that it had to be an interface thing.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a mistake from my end.
It's
So we
okay.
were, yeah, so we were using directly the structure pointer, but it is supposed to be an interface here. So that way we
Okay.
can just mark that anywhere we want, right? So yeah, thanks for
Yeah.
that fix.
Yeah, no problem.
Um, yeah, that's about that. And then, yeah, I mean, we did push our work on really a lot of things on Boscos. Again, thanks to Amulya on that front. So yeah, I mean, we did really a lot of progress. Maybe Amulya, you want to quickly take a few minutes to explain what we have done part of this PR. I mean, of course, we should have one deep dive session from you in terms of the full flow, right? So
Yeah, sure.
I mean, that'd be really helpful. So maybe we can decide when, but maybe just few words on this particular uh, PR, what we
Okay.
have done.
Yeah, sure. So this PR basically utilizes Boscos. So Bosco is basically a resource management. It's like a resource management system. So usually when we create any CAPI resources, we initially we just had like pre-existing network resources, and they would be it would be used to create the VMs. And sometimes, while when the test E2E tests, and there were scenarios where the network, or I mean where the instances were not getting cleaned up, and that would affect the other coming up jobs because the number of instances were not matching the requirement. So what we have done is we have actually initialized a couple of resources with Boscos, and so we have like three basic functions: checkout, release, and heartbeat. So when we have the Boscos host initialized, as you can see, like it would be running in the cluster where our jobs are, like the our Prow cluster basically here. It is deployed on a Prow cluster, and when our Bosco source is initialized, the first step is checkout. So we would be acquiring a resource type. So here our resource is Power VS resource. So we are just acquiring a name with which we are going to create our network. So initially, all the resources would be in free state, as you can see yeah, line 37. I think it's above. Yeah, here. So our state of a resource would be free. Then only we can acquire the resource. And once we acquire it, we're going to set it to busy. During that time, the resource name which is captured, for example, capi power vs 0, that is going to be used to create the network name, using which the further operations are going to be created, creating the VMs and all that. After that, yeah, during this process, how do we ensure that Boscos knows that this resource is being used? So that is being taken care by the heartbeat function. So what this does is it sends the update API to Boscos, where it is going to just update the timestamp of that particular resource, which is busy. So continuously it's going to keep updating it till the resource is busy. So in case, okay, there could be a case where the test fails mid case, I mean mid in the middle, and due to some reason, and the state is still busy because we are only setting the resource state to dirty when the test is completed successfully. So in a case where the state is still busy but the test fails midway, we are going to kill the heartbeat process. So that is how another component comes into picture, which is janitor, which is going to just, sorry, it's the reaper, which is going to check a resource which is in busy but not being used, and it is automatically going to set its state to dirty. And lastly, the third function is a release, which is a little bit, yeah, release. So release is nothing but once the resource is done being used, we are going to set the destination of it to dirty by sending a release uh, call. And so the third component is janitor. So janitor is basically, now we are using a simple script which is going to like clean the resource, and with the enhancement in previous ADM, actually we can delete the network along with its associated VMs which are using ports of the network. So that could make the cleanup much easier. So yeah, this is like overall flow: acquiring a resource, then using it, and then releasing it.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for that explanation, Amanda. So this particular thing is heavily used in the Kubernetes infrastructure, right? So where we have a lot of users will be using this, right? So I mean, we can have. I mean, right now, whatever we have is a very simple mechanism. What we're using. So yeah, first, of course, what we wanted to do is like we will further discuss on this and then enhance it further, and then can be used for any of our other work also, right? So we can have that in place. So this will help in a lot because um, the thing is like you can see here, right? So the heartbeat every 60 seconds it just checks and make sure someone is using or someone is still holding that resource, right? So after 60 seconds, it will just go ahead and then delete it, right? So that's the beauty part of it. Like, so this one will definitely give us a lot of benefits in terms of the resource consumption and cleaning up, of course. Like, you don't need to deal with all that cleanup stuff in your automation itself. So you just use it, and if you fail, it's fine. Someone will take care of the cleaning part onto your of you, right? So that's the beauty about it. And then, yeah, going forward, we will enhance this, especially the janitors, which what she is talking about, and then we'll see how it goes, right? And then, of course, what it does is like even while checking out the account, right? So we can update some of those other information also with that. So that we'll see how do we handle that going forward. So we may end up using um, checkout and then updating that resource information with some more information like I'm using network, cloud connection, whatever, right? I mean, I'm just, you can set that I'm using so and so, so take care of deleting that while cleaning up, right? So even that sort of information we can feed into the automation. So that's something we'll take care of in the future. But yeah, this is very well needed, and then really good effort, Amelia. So good job. Any other questions? And then, yeah, of course, like whatever you're seeing here, this is just the usage part, but the underneath BOSCO server and everything is running inside our Prow. I mean, our internal Prow clusters. And then the idea is, or the next step is like start exploring the public infrastructure also, as in public Kubernetes infrastructure. So then eventually we will start um, moving slowly to the Kubernetes infrastructure, I mean, cloud infrastructure. So we have to start working on that front also. Right? Yeah, Amelia, so did you get a chance to talk to anyone, or have you gone through any sort of a repository or
Yeah,
anything like that?
I was just going through a couple of things now, but I definitely have to reach out to a couple of some channels. I'll definitely reach out for getting some help on how do we do that, because I think that's needed for initial understanding.
Yeah. Let me know in case if you need any sort of help, right? So
Eh,
we can talk to certain people in Kubernetes infra or Kubernetes Arc, whatever, right? So I think we can talk to certain folks.
Yeah, I mean, initially I was just thinking to post in like the sick testing or like the channel. So I'll just try
Yeah,
that. And if you want, like, if there's no proper response and we want to talk to particular folks, then I'll reach out to you.
yeah, makes sense.
Thanks.
That's how the bus goes, and then delete policy. Yeah, this is another item we have delivered. So Prajot.
Uh, yes, Manju. So in the delete policy, right? So in this PR, what we are basically doing it, since we know that image import is a very costly task, right? So it takes a lot of time to import an image, right? And initially, what we were doing were we were deleting the image as soon as the associated cluster was deleted. So we are adding this one more option to the image itself, wherein the user has the ability to specify whether he wants to retain that particular image or delete the particular image whenever the associated cluster is deleted, right? So whenever the user says specifies this option as retain, so what we basically do is we delete the resource, IBM Power BI's image resource, right? But we actually make sure that the actual image which is imported into Power BI's instance exists there without actually deleting that particular raw image, right? So the raw image will still exist. It's just that we are deleting only the resource of that IBM Power BI's image and related specs. So this PR deals with that.
Yeah, so this is purely for the testing purpose. I mean, especially for the testing purpose, if someone wants to do it, they can even use it for the production. But we don't really recommend for anyone to use in the end user thing, right? So this is really meant for the testing purpose, because what we have seen is like image import is taking what, close to 15-20 minutes. Rajat?
Yes, Manju. Sometimes it may also take some more time, but yeah, it takes a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Christy. I think we are also looking at debugging further and understand why it is taking more time on some cases, right? So I think there is also a support ticket reported for that. But yeah, but this option will allow us reduce that at least 15-20 minutes time for our testing. So that's what the intention is. All right. And we talked about this already. And then, yeah, this is another minor one. Change I have pushed in the image ref. We were using object reference, which is like one full-fledged object Kubernetes object type, right? So which was not really necessary is what I felt. And then because we are just using the under the image graph, we are just using the machine, I mean the only name type, and then that's what it is. Like we're not, and also we are not supporting multiple type of image references. So that's the reason I thought like it doesn't make sense to use the object ref here, and then because there are chances that user can specify its own object type, and then they may ask that why this is not working out. That will not be a good idea. So that's what we have shifted to local object reference, which contains only the name field at the moment, right? So that's the change I made. Um, and we have updated some Golang versions, so that's the minor one. And of course, Amulya did update the, convert, like replace the interface, and replace this structure to interface for mocking purpose. Yeah, this was a mistake for mine. Yeah, that's pretty much about what we delivered last couple of weeks. Not right. Any questions or anything like that? Anything else you want to discuss about things what we delivered? All right, yeah. So there are two different PRs, open PRs. We have this one. I'll take a look at it. I think they have modified something in the latest client. So we will see. And then storage affinity to machine spec. When we offline discuss that this may not be needed part of CAPI. Maybe I think maybe we can close this. We'll revisit once if we need it again. Um, yeah, so I'll just close it as of now. Yeah, I'll just close it later, no problem. So that's what I was telling PRs. And then if you go to issues, let's just sort by 0.2. Maybe we will push this to next. I don't think it's really super duper. So, but Amelia, any time you spent on this? Any
No,
chance?
Manju, I'm currently working only on unit tests. I think we can take this up in the next milestone. Yeah.
I'm not sure how the migration really works. I think I just wanted to, I mean, not the test automation, but can we at least give it a shot one round of testing, just the migration part, like the version migration part of manual testing? If that's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
day
sure.
effort, right?
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
we do that?
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to see that what all unknowns we may hit, right? So in case we
Yeah.
need to make any sort of a modification in terms of,
Yeah. Actually,
fixing some of those
yeah,
things, right?
I explored it very initially, like during the E2E phase itself. So it didn't work straightforward. So if I work, I'll look into that again. Yeah, probably today. Yeah.
Yeah. Just see if you can do that. Like maybe just install the older version and then
Yes.
maybe, yeah, just try migrating to 0.2 and see how it goes. I mean, we'll at least know the issues we might face, right?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
So, yeah, I mean, not necessarily we just include everything part of test automation, but we'll have something uh, addressed, right? And then the linting part, I think we can just move, and like it's not really affecting anything. Right? We can just the next one. Yeah, this one also can be moved. Next. The cloud provider integration. So this is still pending because we have one PR with other repositories. Yeah, we'll discuss that thing offline. I think maybe I will deal with this.
Yeah,
But
Manju, I
what?
want to discuss something regarding this.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that later. Okay. Yeah, this is about backlog. Anything else you people think of something really needed for 0.2 or initial release, or anything can be picked from here or anything like that? Okay, and I see that I have released Alpha 5 a couple of days back, and then we might release another one. And then I have released also the older version patch for older C for the older version. So that's with some dependencies, updates, and then whatnot. So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to discuss today. Anything else? Anyone? All right. Nothing. You can close the call. Thanks, folks. Have a nice